there it is. The crank and the rods are on. Something just need to tell you guys. Between the last time and this time, I have lost my tripod. I tried all kinds of Mickey Mouse things, like that one without any top on it, and I went, that's not gonna work. And knowing my budget and my ability to, mess things up, I said, hey, why not? I built my own. I know. I just had some scrap wood. Yeah, the wood split, all that, but I put a bolt through and it's holding good. It's kind of cool. I have the handle so I can loosen this up and back and forth. I've got taller legs. I can make this work. I can slide it up and back, but it would just slide out the side. So I won't be doing that, but hey, for my operation, this looks fantastic. So now we're starting the long journey to getting this back in. Some of the things that we have to do is line up the main bearings where those little notches are supposed to be sitting. Yeah, that's pretty important stuff. So line them up. And when I get them lined up, I'll make a mark on it to, so I lifted the crank out after I got done answering thing. And so I took the front bearing and lined up that little nub that's there and put it right on. You can't see it from, move the handle, and I still don't think you can probably see it, but there's a nub right there. So I just lined them up and get them exactly where it's supposed to be, and that's perfect. And I like that. Now I'll do the rear one in the same way. Again, the rear one has that little nub that's right there, and we'll just line it up. Oh wow, that just was slick. So they recommend that you use a felt or something, and there's a lot of good that can be said about using a felt. The reason I'm kind of doing with a bit of a scratch isn't going to hurt anything on the back side of it. I mean, make sure you don't I don't scratch it deep enough to have any file. Just want to take that one out. Because if you have, this one is really easy to get in. It's really straightforward. Because it's so easy to get in, because it's a split, you're not going to mess it up. In order to get your lines in the perfect spot, it's going to want to teeter-totter on that a little bit. And so without that in the way, these other ones you can tell definitely if you've got it lined up and setting in place. And then once you know that's in place, you put that one in and you line it all up together. Or that's the theory. And now, this bearing I'm trying to figure out right here, I should have, for sure I should have had that done before I set it in or put it on the crank. Now you saw earlier how I had to heat up the two gears and put them on and all that, so I'm not pulling this apart. So this is the best thing when you forgot to do it previously. This is the way you do it. So I do pull out that middle main bearing, line up the front main, well, the one closest to the crankshaft. I line that one up, set it in. Now this one I jiggle it around. Until it just dropped perfectly into place there.
So the back one's in place, the front one's in place. The middle one will be really easy to have in place, and the only other one is the front. And so I just want to make a score where this bearing is sitting, and we will move forward. And there we have it. Now, let's start working on the cam bearings. We're getting everything all sorted out there. You'll notice all the cam bearings are the same, except for this one. This one fits up in here. It's the only place that has shoulders. And yeah, just push it down nice and firm, and you'll notice that each one of them has a little ripple on the end, and you're not exactly a genius to be able to figure that one out, where they go. Here's a little ripple on the end there. And there. Oops. And 3 more for the top. I'm just gonna take the hammer handle and tap those down. When the case comes on, it'll make them equalize, but that's where we're at with that. So we're here, and it's time to put the cam gear right here onto the cam shaft right here. And you'll notice that it can go on a number of different ways. And all these are equal. I wish they wouldn't be equal, because then you can get the timing wrong. And so the idea here is that we need to have this little dot that's on the end of that gear. Remember, I busy was showing those 2 dots. Well, this dot goes in between those other 2 that were on the crank gear. But there we have a issue, is that these are not exactly, in thirds. These are at 180 degrees apart from each other. So we could have this 33 degrees out, and that would be a disaster. And so what we want to do now is look and see, and I have my handy dandy book that will let me know, and I'll show it to you. So I found all the stuff, and it says start with the number 3 main, then number 1 and number 4, and make sure they all fall in the, and blah, 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 blah. And the bottom line is, it's not telling me exactly how to put this gear onto that crank or that camshaft. Now, fortunately, I have the old one here. Now, wow, you can sure see the wear. Again, that's dirty. Well, that is wear, but it's also dirty oil. So, yeah, this motor was not babied at all. So I will set you up again. So what I hope to do now is to line this up. And the first thing I'm going to do is line this up so that I know right where the dot is. Okay, the dot's over here. Let's place the dot right at the bottom. with a dot at the bottom, number 2, number 4 are facing up, and the other ones are facing sideways. So we have this one, the cam is sitting exactly where it's supposed to be. Actually, I was kind of fortunate, and so I know that the dot is supposed to face down. So I find the dot, I face it down, so I tilt this up, and these are the right holes that's to sit in. Now these bolts are what's called low profile bolts. I had a problem with when I put my other motor together, and the problem, and if you guys go back and you'll notice, I had to grind the ends of the bolts off because they were hitting into the end of the oil pump, and I had my motor completely locked up, and I went, "Are you kidding me?" And I was just, I was exasperated, frustrated. I wanted to give it a good kick. So I have my handy dandy little impact here. And that looks really good. The space all the way around is nice and tight. Those are nice and tight. I will torque them here right away. Okay. I've got that laid down where it's supposed to be. Next thing I'm going to do is put new lifters in each one of the holes. They kind of come all nicely pre-oiled, but I will be putting a little bit of grease on them. There we go. Okay, what we need to do now is get that main bearing in, get this main bearing in, set this in exactly following the scribes I've made on the other ones, and then we get the two dots lined up here and set it so that these will all line up together also. Okay. Now this is the hard part. Very, very, very hard part. Now please appreciate that the last time I did this, I had pulled this apart no less than probably 4 or 5 times. Pull it apart, put it together, pull it apart, put it together, pull it apart, put it together. Because I kept just not getting it set right where it's supposed to be. So now, Lord willing, we will make this happen. That and that go down. Oops. That and that go down. This. That goes there. That goes there. So we're out here putting the crank in. We had just gone out for supper and the wife said, how hard could it be? I should come out and have a look. I said, sounds good. I spent probably the better part of a day, maybe 2 days, on the last motor I had, figuring out how to get the crank to drop into place. Now, each one of these main bearings had to be exactly in place. This front bearing had to be exactly in place. This back bearing had to be exactly in place, and they all had, and I described those marks on as you saw. And it just took, it takes a lot of effort. And so she comes in and she holds the rods up. That's what she does. She holds the rods up. That's all she does, is she holds these rods up. I go back and forth, jiggle, jiggle, clunk, it drops into place. And I say, oh, that's wonderful. And I'm so happy she was here to help me, and it was all just working out just wonderful. And then I realized that this splash guard, and I believe that's what this is called, wasn't on. It was sitting on a bench still. So I had to go and get it, and we had to lift it all up. So it all just completely came apart again. I went, okay, here we go. And now it's going to be really hard. And so I put the splash guard on, and in about 45 seconds, we had it all back clunk into place. And I am extremely thankful. And you know what that tells me? I'm never going to try to do it by myself again. It's always pays to have someone else there. And so now it's just to line up the camshaft. Just trying to find the camshaft marks. Oh, there they are. Just get a little light on it. So let's bring you around and get a little clearer view of this. So we have those 2 marks there. I'm just going to roll them back a wee little bit. And bring my camshaft with a single mark Okay, now we're just going to do a close-up inspection. I don't know if you can see that, but that single mark is right in where the other 2 marks are. So that means this camshaft is in perfect time with the crankshaft, and that's a very, very good thing. So next, we're going to have to put the lifters into the other half. I'm going to put crank Put the cam bearings into the other half, and then we'll have to suspend these up. And that's probably a 2-person job again, so we'll get her done. It's looking good. We're here, and now we're opening up our gaskets, and you can see pretty clear right away that this is for the oil bung and sump, and all these little rubbers are all for the valve pushrod tubes. And I'll just set those over where the valve pushrod tubes are. And here's a bunch of copper rings, and no idea what they're for, but I'll figure that out. Of course, valve cover gaskets. Now these goodies here are what I was looking for. There's a whole host of gaskets in here. And what I'm focused on are the rubber rings that will fit on each one of those. Since you were here last, I've done nothing. Just put a little bit of grease on each one of the cam lobes so that they will push on the lifters, and I think it's a little bit of a break-in grease just to help it so it doesn't ruin the lifters or the cam when this gets first started. Here's a bunch of paper gaskets, and they'll go, I can show you later where they go. And here are these. Part of the trouble is taking so long to go between projects is you forget what went where. So anyway, we'll roll some rubber O-rings down. Again, they're just a little rubber O-ring that will go. Interesting story. Talking to a buddy of mine at church, and he'll want to remain anonymous, so I'll just let you know his name's Randy. Anyway, I'm talking with Randy, and I'm talking about rebuilding this boxer motor, and I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm going, yeah, I'm replacing, I'm fixing this boxer motor up, and I feel good. I mean, I'm sort of pumping my own tires and trying to let him know all the little things that he should know. You know, obviously he should know all these things. And so as he gets done listening to me spout all my wisdom, he says, yeah, I used to do that for a living. I used to rebuild motors for a living. I've done thousands of motors. And so as I'm busy trying to tell him all my knowledge, and I think he just quietly sits there and smiles to himself, going, yeah, this guy knows nothing. Anyway, some of the things you're just not supposed to do on this is to put silicone on it. Silicone right on this edge. And if you notice, this is the bottom edge. So when the motor's sitting, this is at the bottom, and the oil is all laying in here. And with the oil laying in here, that's sort of your oil pan is right here. Your dipstick comes in and checks the oil down there. This can leak all the way around. That can leak like crazy. It can leak very easily. And I'm going, Randy, what on earth? So I have this, what I used last time around is this goop or this dope that you paint on here. And it's very thin. And I said, you know what? It's really thin. You know, it's so thin that I'm thinking I'm not going. You know, should I put a thread along there? And I've heard that sometimes you can put a thread in the gasket and it'll help seal it up a little better, and it doesn't really have much width. And so I'm talking to him about all these things. I said, so Randy, what did you guys use as a professional? And he just smiles at me. He says, silicone. I went, silicone? You're not supposed to use silicone. So we did. It works great. So I'm going to take something from the Pro. I'm just going to put a very small bead of orange silicone around the edge of this, and use that as a seal. So yeah, I just had to smile like crazy going, here I was being so worried about all these things, and even the Pros just you know, fell back to, oh, trustworthy. And silicone is trustworthy. We've used it a lot over the years, but they were quite adamant that you were not supposed to use silicone, and so I wasn't too sure what I was supposed to be using. So having said that, and with my trusty friend Randy's advice, we're going to use silicone, and but just a very, very, very fine bead of it all the way around there. We do not want to get, the trouble is that if you get a space here, if you get a space too thick here or anywhere around here, that's going to hold the case up. And remember that your main bearings are right here, and this whole case holds the main bearing. Now on most motors, you just have a cap that comes down over the main bearings, and that cap holds the main bearings in place, and you torque the main bearings all by themselves. And when you put the lid on, that's no big deal. You just put the lid on. But this is a big deal, and so I'm busy trying to come up. So my buddy Randy says, yeah, just use silicone. And then I just kind of smiled. I says, okay, here I was fretting like crazy, but apparently I don't have to worry. So we're going to dig a little silicone out, put a little fine bead around here, and then go from there. So I got to do a little more cleaning and make this more, just so we can put that on and not worry about it. I hooked a couple of, well, you can see them there, a couple of hemostats onto two of the lift. These two are staying pretty good. These two were falling, and so hopefully they'll work. Now you notice I've got new bearings in. I've got the new bearings in here, and so we're getting this all ready to go. I'm going to try to put the skim coat on this half of the case. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to do that. The other one is quite a challenge. All right, put that straight up and down. Adjust you guys down. Use a rubber mallet. Looks good. Now, I don't know if you can see that that little rubber, that blue rubber ring in there. That makes it self-locking. So when you get them tightened down, they stay in place. Well, speaking of staying in place, it's great to see all the lifters have stayed in place. Okay, these are not torqued yet, but now's the big test. Will the crank move, or is it stuck? Okay, let's find out. It moved easily, it moved well, yes. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I have spent a lot of time working on these things, and I think I told you last time I took mine apart and together probably 5-6 times the last motor I did here, and that really had me messed up. So this is coming apart well. It's coming together well. I'm really pleased with what I'm getting out of this. My wife was here to help me set it together. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to torque all the heads, all the nuts down. But I'm comfortable and confident of this, that just with the impact driving them down, that's tightened it enough that I'm not going to worry about whether it's going to move now. Like I'll give it a quick torque, but it's in good shape. So I'll get her torqued, and then we're going to wrap this video up. And there we have it. I'm a happy camper. I give this a, yeah, that crank rotates no problem. It's smooth, it's in there. I can grab a connector rod and just give it a pull, and it pulls right up. So for that, I'm very thankful. Thanks for coming with me in this journey. Thank you for coming with me with this journey. It's been exciting to get this two halves back together, and for that I'm very thankful. The next steps are putting the heads back on and putting the pistons back in and the heads, putting the pistons, the cylinders on, and the head with the connecting rods and all that back together. That I'm not so concerned about because that's really quite straightforward and you can't mess it up too much. The bigger thing I've had trouble with is getting this crankcase or this crank in place the way it's supposed to be, and that has been just no end of grief for me in the past. It's been just no end of grief for me in the past. So now that it's together, we're good to go. And thanks to my buddy Randy, and I feel a little bit more comfortable with this, knowing that I have silicone sealing up that bottom. I just know that the way oil just seems, yeah, if you have a Beetle, you have an oil puddle. It just, the two are side by side. And this one, oh my, it was leaking. It was just leaving huge puddles everywhere I left it. And so I just felt more comfortable and confident with having it working like that. So yeah, this is working better, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that you follow me in this journey, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk soon. Bye now.